want to thank you for being here this morning to attend a very important message that the legislative Democrats here in the Nassau County Legislature will present today. That being said, we all know what the county has been enduring now for almost a year in regards to its contract process. The contract process in this county, short of any particular words, has been an utmost disaster. As you all well know, and this is not just by the Democrats announcing it, it's been announced by the district attorney, saying that the contract process is flawed. It's been announced by the county executive's own panel that the contract process is flawed. It's been flawed, and it's been our belief on why we have to abstain from contracts. For the mere fact we do not know the history or the origin of how the contracts are being brought to us. We don't know if the contracts are being brought to us go through the checklist of items that we would want to see each and every contract go through. And we have been abstaining from contracts that are not handled by either the district attorney's procurement processes or by the controllers. How can that process of going forward be acceptable to Nassau County residents when half of the members of the Rules Committee are abstaining from contracts? Then you have the county executive's own hand-picked panel of distinguished individuals, gentlemen like Frank Czar, who put together a list of recommendations, many of which we actually embody within this board behind us today. And now, 3-4 months later, none of them, not one of them, has been implemented. And then you just have to turn your eyes to what happened last week. The county executive appoints, or two weeks ago, the county executive appoints a procurement director. Only shortly afterwards, a few days later, realizes that the position is not a good fit and has to pull that actual request for that particular individual back. No matter how you look at this particular situation, the county contract reform process has been stumbled on. The county executive and the majority have stumbled in this process. And quite frankly, we are susceptible to a possible ad tech type of situation happening again. We have not done one thing. The legislative majority and the county executive have not done one thing to address each of these points behind us today. The residents, as well as the resolve of us, has getting pushed to the limit. We know we are in the legislative minority. That being said, we know we cannot write change and then implement change as fast as we would like. However, we do have some weight in this body. And based on what I'm going to announce today, we are planning to exercise it. That being said, because of our efforts, and as I said before, we're 300 plus days into no reform in the contract process in the county. The lobbyist bill, which we had proposed, has gone nowhere. The disclosure of identities and emails in terms of the contract process has gone nowhere. Mailing reform has gone nowhere. The 45-day bill, which basically would remove that mechanism from being in existence in terms of how we bill and calendar items, has gone nowhere. An inspector general, which I truly believe is key and vital to making sure that an ad tech situation never happens again in this county, nowhere. And last but not least, the approval of the personal service contracts. I will give the majority some credit that that is actually going somewhere, and we're going to be voting on that today. But there are 5 other things in order to move contract reform forward that are just not happening in this county. The people of Nassau County, it's important to make this note, the people of this county have seen this process be flawed. It took a Newsday poll a couple of days ago that identified that public corruption is the top issue among their concerns. What an independent inspector general does is that he provides credibility, trustworthiness, and transparency to a process. I don't care what the majority would say, I don't care what the county executive has said. They identify that we already have the ability to hire an inspector general. They're wrong. Any individual that is hired by the county executive is already the beginning of a flawed solution. We need an independent body with that staff, very similar to our independent Office of Budget Review, that will examine contracts and be able to share input regardless of political persuasion or who signs his check. That is what we are striving for. And now, this legislative body, which includes the 7 of us, is being asked to vote on $275 million in capital plan DPW, Department of Public Works spending. That being said, $275 million, of which 90% of the contracts we do in this county are tied very well to the very same capital budget that we will be passing. I won't say take some note. This is a measure in regards to the personal service contracts that we push for, tirelessly, have been shouting for, tirelessly, for now almost 300 plus days. I truly believe because of the strength of this caucus, we were able to push the majority as well as the county executive in a direction to do this. But it's not enough. And that is why today we are announcing as a caucus. We all very well know that it is required that you need 13 votes to be able to move any capital budget forward. We are announcing today, because of the magnitude, $275 million that's in this plan, 90% of the contracts passed in this county, very much similar to the contracts that we've seen that brought disgrace to this county, such as an Amtech, or Deedle and Associates, or Blue Chip Marketing. These contracts are appalling, and because of that, we as a Democratic Legislative Caucus will not lend our votes towards any capital budget borrowing until we see these items addressed, but most importantly, we see the Inspector General addressed. We need an independent, fresh eyes as we go forward. And without that, this process continues to be flawed. And we continue to fall and stumble until we see and have an independent process that's going to be in place. I truly believe that the Nassau County residents are calling for it. We are calling for it. We've been calling for it for now well over in excess of 300 days. I can speak for the members of the Rules Committee, myself, Legislator Szilagyi, Legislator Jacobs. We are tired of voting in abstention in rules. Now, we are going to exercise our ability to be able to move forward. And now, of the $275 million worth of projects that's in the capital budget, we will not be lending our votes to give that 13th vote until we see proper contract reform in this county. The people of Nassau County deserve it, and quite frankly, the legislative body needs it in order to be able to say it has a transparent process as well as a credible process and a trustworthy process. And from that standpoint, I'll invite any of my colleagues that would like to say something, or I'll take some questions.
I would just like to add one thing.
Sure.
If I might, I agree 100% with what Kavan has just laid out to you. We are tireless in our efforts under Kavan's leadership to make certain that we bring this to the forefront. I do believe that most of what we're seeing, if anything is happening, such as the contracts being $1,000 now instead of $25,000, is a direct result of what we have said over and over and over again. I want to remind everybody also that there's one other person that's never been mentioned in all this, and the controller, as part of the charter, has as his responsibility to examine and approve all contracts, purchase orders, and other documents by which the county incurs financial obligations. I think George Maragos is a very nice gentleman, but he is a controller. That is his job. That is something that he should be speaking out on vehemently right now. That is what it says in the charter he is supposed to do, and I'm just saying that should be added to our list as far as people that have really shirked responsibility as to what the charter actually says they're responsible for. And we are all responsible for keeping this county solvent and financially able to perform. And honestly, That's how we became the majority in 2000, because it wasn't happening, and it's not happening now, folks. Don't be fooled by what's going on. It is just not happening now, and we are doing everything under Kavan's leadership to bring it to the public. We know we're only 7 votes. That doesn't matter. People understand what's going on. They want it fixed, and the people out there are very smart, and they're not going to settle for anything less. I agree 100% with Kavan on what he's saying.
Thank you. Sure.
I also agree with Legislator Jacobs, but I think it was a step in the right direction, having the $25,000 contracts come before rules, but when you look at what we consider a possible abuse of this system before, it came to about $10 million, and that's a lot of money. But this capital budget that they want us to vote for is $240 million. 250, 75 million. I mean, that is so much money, and there are no other safeguards in place. And as legislators, we want to feel comfortable on what we're voting for. We don't want to be put into a situation that that there's a conflict that we weren't even aware of. And I really think that the Inspector General is necessary. Some people have said to me, why do we need an Inspector General if we have the legislature and we have the county executive? It needs to be an independent eyes looking at this. The last proposed procurement officer was going to have people in his office that were employed by the county attorney's office. Now, nothing against anybody, but if your paycheck is coming from a certain direction and you're questioning, it's going to curtail your ability to really ask the tough questions. And that's what we need. We do it as legislators, but it also has to be done on this level. And until we get that, I don't think any other effort comes close to what we need.
I just want to close before I take questions. The county executive and the majority leader gave themselves a good pat on the back when they announced that we were going to be able to do contracts over $1,000 that would come before the legislature. That's why we have deemed this press conference mission not accomplished. Because as you will see, not one person could argue the merits of each of the 5 other points that will clearly bring reform to this contract process. The bigger question to my colleagues in the legislature as well as the county executive is why has it taken in excess of 300 days before any of this stuff, not talking about it being implemented, just having an airing out and a day in court in the legislature, just an opportunity to debate it. They haven't even brought these items up for debate. So from that standpoint, we know that these steps that we're taking today are very dramatic. But it takes dramatic steps to be able to move what we truly believe is necessary in this county, which is contract. That being said, I'll be happy to take any questions.
If to give your vote for the borrowing, does all 5 have to pass or just the IG?
Well, we want to see, most importantly, we want to be able to see the IG pass. I would hate to want to negotiate through the press, so I'm not going to tell you which ones pass, which ones don't pass, but I will tell you that we need to see significant reform, and we truly believe that significant reform comes in a package of these 5 other items, but we would like to see what the majority, as well as the county executive, are prepared to do. Up until now, we have seen very little. So from our standpoint, it is very clear that we enter this particular process expecting something to happen with these particular points.
What are the 2 other things? In terms of the vote, are you going to vote for the capital budget but not the borrowing? And what's in the budget? What example of a couple of projects? Maybe?
No, we will not be voting for the capital budget.
Okay, I know you just were not voting for the borrowing.
I think the confusion is we will vote, if anything, the capital plan, which is a projection on how the county will spend its money, but has no, it does not give them the money or the authority to move forward. It gives them basically a plan of how we plan to do things going forward. The plan, we will vote for. We've always voted for the plan. We believe that road projects and sewage treatment plants and traffic lights and the maintenance, we always toward parks. We always truly believe that we should have a roadmap on how we're going to spend our resources. That being said, we will not support the actual budget and the borrowing, which that actually gets things done. That's the money that actually makes everything move forward. And from our standpoint, we truly believe we're not asking for anything in the capital plan that should be alarming. We should have an Inspector General reviewing the 90% of contracts that are coming through this committee.
Anything specific in that cap in 275, anything large projects that the public would be familiar with?
There's many and vast. I would never want to be able to identify one over the other. We spend tens of millions of dollars on road resurfacing. We spend the same amount on traffic light maintenance. These are all things that keep the county moving forward.
We want to vote, right?
Yeah, and the bottom line is, as legislator Richard Whitney said, we want to vote for these things. However, we do understand that the county has a flawed contract process, one that is at the point of disaster. And be quite frankly, we cannot vote for contracts that come through the Rules Committee that will end up ministering the work that we vote for in a budget. And these contracts, we don't know how they originated, how they got to us. Did they go through this process? Are they being treated independently? We don't know any of that.
You know, can I just say, it's not easy to do. I mean, this is almost like tough love as a parent, but if we continue to allow for these incredible amount of money going to these projects without any type of reform, you know, we're enabling the process. And I think that's what each and every one of us has a problem with. We can't continue, you know, we can't in any way, although I give the Rules Committee a tremendous amount of credit for fighting the fight, and they really have. And we're all proud of you. We know how hard it is, but you know, it's not easy to do this. Would we like to come up and say, oh, sure, here, have whatever you want in capital, have all these wonderful projects? We would. But again, we hear about your tax money, we hear about how hard it is to stay on Long Island. We're hitting it where it really counts, in my opinion, and that is that this whole procurement issue has to be redesigned so that we all feel confident voting for what we're supposed to be voting for.
And again, I can't say it enough. The magnitude of the $275 million that's going through the capital budget. Yes, you got Bo Dietl and Associates and Blue Chip Marketing. That's a drop in the bucket. We have to correct that too. And having that come through the Rules Committee and being able to have that go through an Inspector General, we need to correct that too. If you're talking about $275 million of contracting that will come through the county in the next couple of years without any reform. You can have the contracts of $1,000 or more, but you know what? These contracts are in excess of $250,000. They're already coming to rules. So the measure that's being talked about for today would do nothing at all to be able to give the confidence that we believe we need in order to be able to move these contracts forward. What gives that confidence to this process is an independent set of eyes, which the county executive has said that we can do that through the county attorney's office. Well, anyone that is hired by the county executive and can be fired by the county executive is not independent in our eyes.
And that's where the confidence is lacking in the members of the Rules Committee. I mean, nobody wants to not vote for contracts. It's the worst feeling in the world to abstain. I hate the idea of abstaining. You're either yes or you no, but you're not yes or you no if you have no confidence in what's being presented to you. And right now, our confidence level is zero, unless, as Vaughn said, it comes through the district attorney's office or through some other office that has vetted it properly. And the controller should weigh in. It's time for him to weigh in also. Way over time.
So would you like to see the controller then, I guess, in the interim, review the capital plan? Is that
Well, we believe the controller should be reviewing it as per Legislator Jacobs. The controller should be doing that now.
From the beginning.
From the beginning. But at the same time, we need an Inspector General. We need a 45-day rule. We need mailing reform. We need disclosure of identities and emails. We need all that stuff to be incorporated into any reform. The astonishing thing to me is that we're talking about this 300 days after we learned about AdTech. You would think most governments and municipalities, and the controller, yes, and the legislature, and the controller actually reviewed that particular contract as well. But to me, it's astonishing that we're still talking about this. You would think any legislature would not take 300 plus days to come to action. We've been very patient awaiting the county executive's proposals and the majorities, very patient for him to implement his own hand-picked committee's ideas and solutions, ones that we support. And now, I think we're at the point where we're moving into a new fiscal year, and quite frankly, our patience is wearing thin. And we know that the significance of not supporting the capital plan, but we also know the significance of contracts going through this committee going through our committee, by us enabling the capital budget and authorizing $275 million, we also know the significance of that as well. We know when this process does not have an independent set of eyes, we see what happens. Blue Chip happens, Aptec happens, Boldito happens, contracts that have no place happening in this county. We have to take this step now. Thank you very much.